And now, as anti-Semitism surges on university campuses across North America, more than 80 student leaders from some of the continent's top universities have arrived in Israel, not just to visit, but to prepare for the fight back home. The delegation is one of the largest student solidarity missions to Israel this year. So it's a pleasure to welcome to studio Elijah Wiesel from Yale University, representing Chabad on the student board, and Liel Nsinga, the president of the Jewish Feminist Association at Brandeis University. Thank you both so much for being here. So appreciated. We were talking earlier on in the show about the lack of visitors to the country, obviously during a war. You, on campuses in America, have experienced the anti-Semitism post-October 7th. Let's start with you. Your feelings being here in Israel right now, the significance of being here at this moment.
So this is not my first time in Israel this year, and every time I come here, it just feels like I'm in the right place at the right time. It's not the most stressful time that I've been here so far, but it's just, every time I'm here, it cements the fact that I know that I'm doing the right thing and I feel on the right side of history.
Talk to us about your experience on campus during the past 2 years. What stood out for you?
So what stood out to me was the amount of Jews that are anti-Israel, whether they say it or not, or they just are. And a lot of them are ones who have not been connected to Jewish tradition. A lot of them are ones who just do it for social pressure. But I've had experiences with them. I think my worst experiences with anti-Semitism have been from other Jews.
Give us an example.
So about a year ago, there was a referendum, a BDS referendum on my campus. And I was, I'm in Hebrew classes there, and I was at a Hebrew table. And the Hebrew table leader called me a Judeo-Nazi because I mentioned at one point that I am strongly considering making Aliyah. And that was enough to get me called a Judeo-Nazi. And she's Israeli. She has an Israeli passport, and she speaks Hebrew fluently. She's Jewish. And it was very shocking. It's not like I've been harassed. I've almost been assaulted before, but hearing it from another Jew is harder. It's harder than any of that.
Would you imagine that more people like yourselves visiting Israel, experiencing what is happening here on the ground, seeing firsthand what is happening in the ground, would make a difference to people's thinking? What is your sense?
My concern is that I think for some, yes, but for many, it wouldn't. Because if you come here with a preconceived notion of what you're looking for on a trip, especially a trip that is with a group called Hasbara Fellowships, if you already know what you think, you're going to be looking for things to, whatever you're here to confirm your narrative. And that's why I'm here. I'm not afraid to admit that. But I think that in many cases, it wouldn't make a difference.
Liel, what is your sense of being here right now, the significance for you at the moment?
So my parents are born and raised in Israel, and I grew up in an area of New York and Queens where Israel was always in the forefront of our minds. Most of my synagogue back at home, we are all either Israeli or a family in Israel. And always, anytime I'm back in Israel, I just feel a sense that I'm home because I am home. My parents were born and raised here. I want to make Aliyah one day and just continue the Israel pride and show on to my kids.
And give us a sense of the experience you've had on your campus in terms of the reaction to October 7th.
So from my experiences, the main issue we have on our campus is the lack of proper education. Students see what they see on social media, right? And they think that's the end all be all. They see one-sided, usually from Al Jazeera or some random news source or some influencer that kind of doesn't support Israel or just has a very weird notion of what Israel is to the country. So on my college campus, I've worked a lot with other organizations to try to bring proper education, because the forefront of our war is an education war, showing the proper sources, showing proper information, right? So that people don't come and say that no festival massacre didn't happen, or that no one went into Bury to attack, no terrorists went in. If you show people the facts and you try to convince people of the facts, they're more likely to believe you. That's why you work with Hasbara and other organizations that make education possible.
Facts are so important and often so missing in these conversations. If you get to the communities that have been devastated by October 7th, what is your feeling when you look and you see firsthand the true suffering, the true evil that unfolded on October 7th?
it takes me back to just the day it happened, being in the diaspora. It brings back a lot of memories for me that are very hard to look back on. But I think I want to go back to the other question just for a second, the one you asked me previously, if I think that it can change, that a trip like this can change perspectives. I think there are two things about this trip that'll change perspective. And this ties into the question you just asked me. I think it's seeing the devastation in Otef Aza and being just in Israel, having a good time, making friends. Those are the two things that if they can change an outlook on Israel. You can see facts all you want, but if we're going to Shomron tomorrow, we're going to see the separation wall, the so-called apartheid wall. It's the only thing that can really make an impact, I think, is like on a political and emotional level, is Otef Aza. I've never seen anything like that, and I've seen a lot like outside of Israel too.
Well, it really is so important to have young leaders like yourselves here, seeing firsthand, going home, sharing your experience, and as we've been discussing, coming back to see firsthand what is happening. Elijah Wiesel, thank you so much for being here. Liel Masinga, we appreciate your time and all the best with the rest of your trip. And we look forward to hosting you again when you come back on your next trip. Thank you so much for being with us on The Rundown.
Thank you for having us.
And on that note, we wrap up this edition of The Rundown.